The Anti-Defamation League says anti-Semitic incidents increased nearly 400% since the Israel-Hamas war began. Our CBS's Jeff Pegues has more.
As tensions are rising across the United States, so are incidents of anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League reports at least 312 anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S., including harassment, vandalism, and assault, in the nearly 3 weeks since the Israel-Hamas war began. That's up from 64 during the same time last year.
We've never seen the intensity, and we've never seen the spread like we're seeing right now.
Last week, Attorney General Merrick Garland warned about increased threats to Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities. The Council on American Islamic Relations reports 774 anti-Muslim incidents since October 7th, the highest in nearly 8 years.
They feel doubly victimized. On one hand, they're watching, again, thousands of civilians be killed. Then they're retaliated against with hate crimes, with hate incidents.
Just this week near Chicago, dueling rallies turned violent, and earlier this month, a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy was stabbed to death in an alleged hate crime. His mother, stabbed more than a dozen times, now home from the hospital and urging people to pray for peace.
And Jeff joins us now. Jeff, data from the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism shows that over the past 3 decades, conflicts in the Middle East involving Israel have led to large spikes in hate crimes in the U.S., particularly anti-Semitic incidents. Why is that, according to this report?
Well, what you see is the tension that people are feeling in the Middle East. You're getting that here with Palestinian Americans, Jewish Americans, Muslim Americans, and so it translates itself into some of these hate incidents that, in part, are being fueled by social media. The ADL says that some of this violent rhetoric is being fueled by extremists on their social media channels, and it's leading to hate incidents. In fact, they've noticed a 1,000% increase in the daily average of violent messages that are mentioning Jews and Israel. But it's a complicated situation. The factors leading to these hate incidents, it's a little muddled, but what is clear is the numbers have really spiked in the last 3 weeks.
And we know that social media can be helpful, whether it's communicating to loved ones in those places or even sharing what people are seeing there on the ground. But how much of this is disinformation?
Some of it is disinformation, but you have situations where people can be radicalized online. We've talked about that when it comes to ISIS, and we've talked about that when it comes to people domestically in certain situations. And in this situation, it seems there are these violent extremists who are repeating messages online. Sometimes it's conservative talk radio, as we saw in the case of the 6-year-old who was stabbed to death 26 times. At least that's what prosecutors allege, that man, the suspect in that case, was angered and concerned about his safety after listening to conservative radio. And so there are instances where people are essentially being radicalized because of what they're listening to or because of what they're reading online.
And what do federal, state, and local law enforcement say? How does this help them in terms of how they investigate these types of crimes?
Well, it's always good to have the data at your fingertips, but the FBI and local law enforcement, they know that incidents like these are on the rise because they've had to respond to them in individual cities, and federal agents have had to respond as well. And so while they try to respond and try to prevent these things from happening, it's difficult because in a lot of cases, these are lone wolf incidents or individuals taking actions that lead to these kinds of hate incidents, and it's hard to stop those kinds of things. But of course, law enforcement is aware of what's happening. They have the data, and the hope is, at least if you talk to the ADL and if you talk to people at CARE, The hope is that law enforcement officials will speak up, that politicians will speak up and denounce some of these acts.
Absolutely. Jeff Pegues, thank you.